Have you ever looked at a game or an app and just wondered, how in the world does someone turn a bunch of text into that, something you can actually use? Well, today we're going on that exact builder's journey to see how code becomes a real creation right from scratch. So let's start with that big question. How does simple text, something you could type into any old notepad, become an interactive game? Something that actually responds to you, that challenges you. It might seem like magic, but it's really a logical, step-by-step process. So let's start by laying down the foundation. Every big project, whether it's a skyscraper or a piece of software, it all starts with a solid foundation. In programming, that foundation is made up of the most basic materials you can imagine. For this journey, we're using Java, so let's get to know its core building blocks. Okay, the first and most important building block is something called a variable. The easiest way to think about it is just as a labeled box, a little container. You put a piece of information inside, give the box a name, and then whenever you need that info, you just call out the box's name. It's really that simple. But of course, just like a builder can't build a house with only one type of brick, our code needs different kinds of containers for different jobs. These are called data types. For example, a string holds text, like a name. An int is just for whole numbers, like an age. A double is for any number with a decimal point, which is perfect for something like a price. And a char, that's for just one single character, like a $sign. So we've got our basic materials. But let's be honest, a pile of bricks just sitting there isn't very exciting. The real fun, the real magic, begins when we make our creation interactive, when it can actually communicate with a person. And that leads us to the next big question, right? How does that conversation even happen? How does a program listen to what you type and then actually talk back? This is the moment where our static code really starts to feel like it's coming alive. To listen to a user, our program needs a special tool from its toolbox. In Java, this tool is called a scanner, and getting it ready is a simple three-step deal. First, we import the tool into our project. Basically, we bring it to the construction site. Second, we create our own copy of it to use. And finally, we just use that tool to listen for whatever the user types, and we store their answer in one of our variable boxes. With our listening tool ready to go, the program can now kick off a conversation. It can ask a simple question like, "What's your name?" This is the code actually reaching out, waiting for a response. And here it is, the aha moment. The program takes the input it just got, combines it with its own text, and creates a personalized greeting. It listened, and then it responded. This right here is the absolute core of interactivity. Okay, so our program can have a basic chat. That's awesome. The next step is to give it a brain. We need to teach it how to make decisions, how to think, by giving it a set of rules and logic to follow. Now, the most fundamental way a program makes a choice is with an if-else statement. And it's just like it sounds. If a certain thing is true, do one thing. Else, do something completely different. For instance, if a customer is a student, they get a discount. Else, they pay full price. It's basically a fork in the road, and the program knows exactly which path to take based on the info it has. Logic also saves us from tons of repetitive work. Can you imagine a builder needing a separate instruction for every single brick in a wall? It would be insane. Instead, a programmer uses a powerful tool called a loop. A loop just tells the computer, hey, repeat this action X number of times. This lets us create really complex patterns, like this whole grid of symbols, with just a couple lines of code instead of hundreds. So as our projects start getting bigger and more ambitious, they also get way more complex. And just like building a skyscraper, you can't just have one giant, messy blueprint. You need a way to keep everything organized and manageable. This is where we learn how to scale up. And that's where methods come in to save the day. A method is like a specialized, custom tool that you build for your own toolbox. It's a little bundle of instructions designed to do one specific job. This all ties back to a golden rule in programming. Don't repeat yourself. Instead of writing the same code over and over, you just build a tool for it once and grab it whenever you need it. Let's break down how you make one. It's really straightforward. First, you give your new tool a clear name, like show balance. Next, you define exactly what its job is, in this case to print the account balance on the screen. And finally, whenever you want that job done, you just call the tool by its name. It's all about being efficient and organized. All right, let's take a quick step back. We've laid our foundation with variables, we've learned how to interact with the user, we've added logic to make our code think, and we've organized our tools. Now it's time for the payoff, to see how all these pieces snap together to create something genuinely fun. Our first creation is an absolute classic, the Mad Libs game. This project is a perfect little showcase. It combines asking the user for different kinds of words, which get stored in our variables, and then just slots them right into a story. And the result is just pure, unpredictable chaos. The logic behind it is super simple, but because it depends entirely on the user's creativity, the output can be absolutely hilarious. It's a perfect example of how combining those simple building blocks can lead to something new and fun every single time. Next up, let's build a number guessing game. Now, this one takes our logic to the next level. It really leans on loops and those if-else statements to create a real challenge for the player. The heart of this game is a really simple feedback loop. You make a guess, and the program instantly compares your number to its secret number. And it uses that if-else logic to tell you if you're too high or too low. And thanks to that loop, it just keeps asking for your next guess.
Until, finally, you get it. You get that satisfying correct message. This game is really the perfect storm of variables, user input, and logic, all working in harmony to create a really engaging experience.
And for our final project, a slot machine. What's so clever about this one is how it uses simple character symbols, remember our char data type, to create a cool, visual, game-like interface. It's a great reminder that even the simplest building blocks can create something surprisingly fun to look at. So there you have it. We've gone from a single variable all the way to a functioning game. We've seen how logic, interaction, and good organization are the real secrets behind the builder's journey. So I guess the only question left is, now that you've seen the blueprints, what are you going to build first?